Alright, it is time for another garden tour. I'm trying to do one like every 2 weeks because this time of year the garden changes so quickly. You'll see there's a lot of changes since the last tour. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. Okay, so this bed finally started to do something. And I wanted to show you, well, first of all, there was a problem here. I hadn't taken the drain plug out of this one. I don't know if you remember that the one that's over by my door, didn't have one, and it was causing a problem with too much water accumulating. And then this one, the same thing happened and I didn't realize. And so now the drain plug is out of this one. It is not retaining water, and the zinnias are a lot happier. I wanted to show you some of these I pinched and some of them I didn't. This one I did, so you can see it's going to have 3 blooms. This one has 2. This damage here is from the heat wave. And I have let them be, and now it's time just so plants can reabsorb the nutrients from damaged portions of their leaves. And now that it's been a couple of weeks, I can come in and remove the portions that are dead. One of these days I'm gonna get a good shot of the, what is this flower? The amaryllis. There are in some of my other posts, but not during it just doesn't want to flower for a garden tour. But as you can see, some of these zinnias, this one was snipped, and so it has 3 buds, and each time that you clip it, it will branch out. So as these flowers fade, I will clip them down and they will bloom again, and hopefully they will bush out quite a bit. This bed is making me so happy. It does every year. Look at this dahlia. It's got a couple of big gorgeous blooms, but as you can see, it's gonna have a few more here come a few more days. The nasturtium are looking gorgeous. I wanted to show you this. There are marigolds down in here, and I'll show you. Some of my marigolds are 3 feet tall, and some of them just are not. This one is a little bit better. The nasturtium just is taller than it is, and the nasturtium haven't quite started falling over yet. And some of them got super tall, and that's sort of what I was expecting, and then some of them didn't, and this one didn't. So it's sort of just tucked in there, but I love it when the beds fill up and start to look full and lush like this. This little plant has popped, and I went to the nursery where I bought it yesterday and tried to find what it was called. And I looked it up and I didn't write it down, and now I can't remember, so I'm gonna have to do it again. And here is an update on the green stalk. You can't even see it anymore. It's just completely full. These marigolds are some of the ones that are, they are just so tall. And then the green beans are just like everywhere, and there are strawberry, like first-year strawberry plants in there, so they're not producing strawberries. I've only gotten one off of them, but you cannot even tell that a third of these just have tiny little strawberries in them that aren't doing much, because the beans and the marigolds are just taking up all of the space. They're so happy. I am really happy with the green stalk. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to have a tower garden. I can't remember if I've talked about the lemongrass. I had a big lemongrass plant that needed to be split, and these are 3. I've split it into a lot of plants, and these are 3 that I've planted. And they struggled during the heat wave, but they are coming back and looking nice, and I think, yep, we're gonna have a lot of lemongrass, and that's nothing to complain about. And then the rest of the herb garden is looking great. The new sage is happy. This lavender that was struggling, I think it was just getting too much water, and so I stopped watering it, and it's looking a lot better now, and its new blooms. I need to deadhead it, but its new blooms are there are the puppies. Yeah, it's new blooms. Some of its new blooms are starting to come up. The echinacea since last time has just oh, it's one of my favorite flowers. All cone flowers are so beautiful. I would like to grow more of them. This is the medicinal version. The calendula is looking great. All the other herbs, and this one in the pot is stevia right here. And in our zone it's grown as an annual, so I put it in a pot. And the rest of the herb garden, everything is happy and healthy. The feverfew, which is this right here, needs to be harvested. The chamomile does have flowers on it, but I just harvested it yesterday, so there's not much on there. So this container right here, this blue container, is an old filing cabinet. If you're going to do this, you have to use one that has a bottom, so it has to be an old one. And it's got my Roman chamomile is right here, right there, and it is not doing great this year. I fertilized it, and it's looking a little bit better. I think it'll probably recover. But I just wanted to show you there's sunflowers and the rest of it, sunflowers and zinnias. And look at that mammoth sunflower. Look how tall it is. So it hasn't even, like, it has a head on it. It's just isn't quite ready to bloom, but my word, it's up there a long ways. In this new flower bed, we've got some zinnias starting to pop. A few more. Oh, look at this orange one. It just showed up yesterday. Look at that color. Look at that color. And a few more things. The first gladiola has its beginning of its flower stalk, and just things are starting to look better in here. The honeysuckle has grown flowers since it dropped them all during the heat wave. And these purple flowers over here are lobelia, and they're looking great. And then I do have a couple of fragrant stalks starting to bloom. In the main garden, some things are changing. These onions have mostly been harvested. There's just a few left. They are big and gorgeous and ready to eat, and they're just there because I'm not ready to eat them yet. I've pulled a few others and they're curing. And we have our first cherry tomatoes. This is the only variety I grew this year. It's called brownberry, and it is my favorite cherry tomato. I also really like sun-gold tomatoes, but I didn't find one in time this year. I didn't start them from seed, so it's so good. It's so good. This bed has changed since my last garden tour, I think. I don't think I'd flipped it yet. The onions have been pruned so that they can finish up their bulbing cycle and put their energy into creating bigger bulbs. So you can see that this was the lettuce garden, and the way that I grow it is called a chaos garden, and it's just like truly seeds thrown in. And there is still some lettuce that after I pulled it all out, it's just here and there. This is edible and we're still eating it. But there were other plants tucked in there that now that the lettuce is done get to have their time. So this is a tomatillo, and then I have another tomatillo right there. The kale was in there the whole time, and so was the chard, and those are doing great. And then there's some extra peppers tucked in here, more kale, and then these are the Anaheim peppers, these three right here. And you know, some more kale tucked in, just some things that can be tucked in late or later in the summer, that after the lettuce comes out that they can go in. The potatoes have been harvested. We harvested about 35 pounds of potatoes out of this bed. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is about 3 feet by 6 feet. So that gives you an idea. It was started with 15 organic potatoes, and they were planted about March 15th, somewhere near the middle of March. I will amend this bed this week and more potatoes will go back in. The squash are giant. I do have, there's a soaker hose, not a snake down in there. I am gonna run a soaker hose through here. There is still some damage to the zucchini from the heat. Again, I'm letting it decide how it wants to deal with it. And we have already started harvesting zucchini. You can see there's a couple down in there. Those will probably be ready tomorrow. Oh, look, that one I probably said will be ready tomorrow, and then it's ready to harvest. That is how zucchini is. The patty pans have a lot of like buds on them, but they haven't bloomed yet, so it'll still be maybe another week or so before we have patty pans. Look at these sunflowers, aren't they gorgeous? Oh, I wish there was a better backdrop than the construction next to my house, but we'll just get in real tight. Look at that gorgeous girl. So these have rattlesnake beans growing up them. They are, I don't know what's going on with them. They're starting to kind of look good, but they haven't really done a lot. And the same with my other have rattlesnake beans up here growing on this trellis. They're starting, you can see they're starting to pick up and take up this trellis. So, and I may plant a few more in there. There's one bean plant right there that I planted later. And another one right there. The germination rate just was not great on these. The cilantro is starting to go to seed, and we'll have coriander soon. And the kale, we're eating lots of kale. And look all these marigolds were all from the same, they're all the same variety. I only grew 2 varieties this year, and they all just did their own weird little thing, just depending on, I guess, what resources they had available. The parsley is still not looking great, but it's coming back. It's got a mushroom friend. This is a luxury cap. They are not edible. They're also not poisonous. My understanding is they don't taste good, but they sure are pretty, aren't they? There's kind of some grasses growing in here, but and it's got another little luxury cap down in here sharing space with it. That's good for the garden. That means that there's some good garden health, and there's nothing wrong with your plants sharing a little. Oh, look, here's another one. Look at that one. There usually seems to be one type of mushroom prevalent in my garden every year, and this year it's luxury cap. So this was where the fava beans were planted, and I have harvested the fava beans. And I didn't get a lot of fava beans from what was planted here. There weren't a lot of plants, but also I planted them late, and so there were only about 3 beans per pot instead of the 4 to 5 that there can be. I will re-examine and reevaluate how and when and where I want to grow fava beans, but I do really enjoy eating them. They are a lot of work to get to the point where you can eat the actual bean. I've tucked in 2 watermelons, and then there's 2 cucumbers right there, and then this pretty plant over here is a purple basil, and these will fill up this space pretty quickly here. This space right here, this empty space right here, gets quite a bit of shade from the sunflowers, and I think I'm gonna put some greens in there, maybe some more cilantro. And then the artichoke is starting to flower. Oh, they aren't quite bursting yet, but this will be a gorgeous flowering plant that the bees love in just a few days. The tomatoes are doing great. They're about as tall as I am. They've got quite a bit of fruit on them. All of it's still green, and that's just how it is where we live. While people in more southern climates are already enjoying their tomatoes, we only are to cherry tomato season for us here in the Pacific Northwest unless you have an early variety. I have grown Oregon early before. I don't really care for their flavor, which is why I chose not to grow them this year. It's not really worth it to me. I want my first tomato to just be like something, the amazing flavor that I've been waiting for months and months. And Oregon early just doesn't do that for me. So I chose not to. I will wait longer and enjoy my amazing cherry tomatoes. But yeah, they're looking great. They did all drop all their blossoms during the heat wave. And so that puts me a couple of weeks behind on the tomatoes, other than the fruit that was already there. So normally I would stop watering my tomatoes. I would go to only watering them once a week about this time, but I'm actually going to continue watering them for about 2 more weeks. Just because of that setback from the heat wave. You can hear Ox in the background. Ox is our rooster, and he's gonna get a crow collar on Tuesday, so poor little guy, I'm letting him sing his heart out. He actually is not a super noisy rooster, we have neighbors, and he sings early in the morning. So the peppers are looking great. These are mostly the orange sweeties. They have they all have fruit on them. This one's confused. That looks like a bell pepper. This is what they're supposed to look like. And most of them do. And then these are the Italian sweets. And that's what this whole bit is too, Italian sweets. You can eat these now. I do not care for green peppers, and so will not eat them now. I will wait for them to go red. Italian sweets go a little bit squishy when they go red, if you don't pick them like on the day that they are ready. That doesn't bother me. I only cook peppers. I rarely eat them raw. So, and they freeze beautifully. This bed had acorn squash in it. It did not germinate at all. So I'm gonna have to, not a single one, nothing. I've got weeds back here. That's all I've got going on. The onions, the red onions. Also, I want to show you guys places where we had failures too. The red onions just look terrible. The only thing happy here is this is motherwort, and that is the only thing that's happy right now. That and these right here are Jerusalem artichokes. They're happy too. They're happy all the time though. They're never not happy. Our winter squash bed is looking great. We didn't have perfect germination, but I've got plenty of spaghetti squash. I've got that's a double one, so I can move that one to right here where this one didn't germinate. Back here was, is that where the acorn squash was? You should write things down and not be like me. Let's see, what did I grow? Acorn, spaghetti, and something else. Anyway, I've only got whatever that is. I've only got one of them, and there were several along the back here. So not great germination on there, but we'll get what we get. And the spaghetti squash will take up the whole space. It's not it was probably a little crowded the way I had it planted, and that will be fine. That will be fine. We'll move this one to right here, and that's it. Here are the artichokes. Some of these are in full flower, so if you've never seen an artichoke flower, that's what they look like. And the bees love them. Love them, love them, love them. So that one's spent and dried out. These are a little dry. They haven't been getting good water for a variety of reasons. But look, when they turn, the artichoke turns this beautiful purple color, and then the flower is can you see? There's bees in there. Look, there's one right there. And there are several more in there. I don't know. Oh, there you go. They just love them. Oh, bye, friend. All right, back over to the main garden. The yard-long cucumbers are starting to climb. The noodle beans are getting tall enough they'll start to climb soon. These cucumbers that are newly germinated are looking good, and this one, I'm gonna tuck something else in there. I might tuck another cucumber in there, we'll see. We skipped a bed, we'll go back to it. But the fennel is getting big and beautiful. We grow it for, you can eat the fronds. They're delicious. They taste like black licorice. One of my favorite treats in the garden. But we grow it for that bulb, and they are incredibly delicious roasted. I don't have a ton of them this year. I think I only have 5 or 6 of them. They're a special treat. They kind of take up a lot of space. These are beans, and they're doing great. They're purple beans. The only sad thing about, purple beans is that when you cook them, they turn green. So they're pretty when they're on the vine. And the eggplants, these are Japanese eggplants, which I have never grown the Japanese variety before. They are loving the heat and looking great, and hopefully they will have, it looks like, oh, they do. There's some flowers on, come on. Oh, right there. There's some flowers on them. And they'll, so we'll have some, hopefully have some eggplants soon. Got another watermelon on this side that has gotten big and happy and looks like it's about ready to bloom. And over here, the beets, you can eat the beet greens, so we can eat these beet greens. I haven't harvested off these yet because they're so small. Germination during the heat is always questionable, so right here it just didn't germinate. Over here, these are my earliest cucumbers, and they probably have cucumbers in them somewhere. I'm gonna have to go looking. The Malabar spinach is starting to grow up and it will grow up this trellis. There are also cucamelons in here. That's these little plants right here. They take a long time to take off, but my understanding is, I've never grown them before, that once they do, they'll really take off. Then back up into this bed. My broccoli starts are looking great. The cabbage moths have already chewed on them a little bit, so I need to cover them. Well, it's not the moth that's chewing on them, it's the larva of the moth, and yeah, I need to cover them up. We've harvested a bunch of cabbage. They are just surprisingly beautiful for how late in the season it is, and I love cabbage, and so we are happily eating lots of coleslaw, and we had cabbage in our stir fry tonight, and I love cabbage and mushrooms. I've got more beets tucked in here, and when these cabbages, as you can see, they're pretty much all getting real close to needing to be harvested, and I will make sauerkraut with them, or the ones that I don't put in storage. I have an extra fridge and I can store them. And the broccoli will take up some room, but also this will also have more brassicas in it that I will start from seed soon. The black beans have perked up. They definitely were getting too much water, and I have started watering them only every other day, and they're much happier. Weird plants. The chocolate sunflowers, I cannot wait for these to bloom. They're going to be gorgeous, but there are also more sunflower babies over here. And when I start my brassicas, I'm going to start some more from seed. And I love having a lot of sunflowers filling up the fall garden when there isn't as much food. Look, there's another little, hey friend. You can see him moving around, moving the Every single one of them has bees all in it. These ones are honeybees, but the bumblebees really like them too. Look at this one. Borage and artichoke all in the same place. John Henry's pumpkins in the kiddie pool are doing great. He did weed around them. Right here, all in here was dock, and he just weed-eated it out. And that's these boxes. We do tons of sheet mulching, and this is where we're currently storing all of our boxes, but that needs to be sheet mulched to help keep that down. And the blueberries, I don't know if you can see those, but they struggled through the heat, but we didn't lose any of them. However, we lost, you can see the red leaves, we lost most of our fruit. You can see they just are dried. I wonder if they taste good. Yep, they taste like a dehydrated blueberry. That's good to know. Some of them, like this one, we have early, mid-season, and late blueberries, and the late ones that had not put on fruit yet, we may still get fruit from. We'll see. A little note about sheet mulching. This used to be a blackberry patch bramble, and this is what, like, when we've done good sheet mulching, what it looks like. And when we have not done great sheet mulching, where we've not done a great job, this is more what it looks like. This was weeded 2 weeks ago. So, you know, sometimes we do a better job in some places than others, and it definitely is worth it when we do a good job. Right, that is the early-ish July garden tour. I'll do another one again at the end of July. I love looking back at them because I am always surprised. I know the garden's changing, but I am out here every day, and it is delightful to me to go back and see just how much it's changing. If you have questions about something I'm growing or the way that I'm growing it, let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you next time.